Good morning, YouTubers. We're going to trim the bowl that I threw a couple days ago. I'm just going to hit the high spots. I'm going to look at the circle to make sure that the distance between the circle and the outside of the pot is the same all the way around. That looks pretty good. I always test that after I put the keys on. For the final time, the little wads of clay, those are called the keys. And I always check that after I put keys on just to make sure it's still centered before I start doing any major trimming. I'm going to use the big tool and smooth out that shoulder so you can be pretty aggressive there. Now that I've done that and I can go back and look at that line a little bit more realistically, I see that this part right here is a little bit thinner than like up in here. I'm going to take off the keys, push it up a little bit, try again. There's lots of stuff out there to help you to center. There's a Giffen grip, and then I've also seen in like Ceramics Monthly and Pottery Making Illustrated this little yellow disc thing that you can put on the top and put your finger on it and kind of to hold it down on the wheel to eliminate the use of maybe these keys. And I've been thinking about getting one of those, but I haven't purchased one yet. So if anybody has one of those, it'd be awesome if you showed a video of you using it, or at least emailed me and told me if you liked it and how it worked. Okay, I'm going to try that circle thing again. Drawing the circle, looking at it. It's still not where I want it to be. Nudge it just a bit that way. Put them back on. And smooth that out. Draw another circle. Okay, that's much better. Alright, so take the big tool again. Trim off some of the extra on the shoulder. Okay, good. You know, trimming can be tedious to, especially when you're a hobbyist or a beginner, you're not a professional, you're still practicing. It's so tedious to get it centered well, sometimes. But when you get the piece centered well, it is so worth it. It just makes trimming so much easier. It is worth taking the time to be picky and making sure that it is centered. It will save you so much headache and trouble. Okay, I'm using the corner of just a standard trim tool, okay, this thing, to start the beginning of my foot. And then I'm actually going to use one of those circles I drew to make the inside circle. Okay, and there is basically the outline of the foot. Now all I have to do is just go and trim all that out, and I'm pretty much done. So I'll use the loop side, the loop part of this, starting in the middle and just working my way to the line. Another thing that's really nice that I found with trimming is if the clay is the right consistency, it's so much easier to trim. You just got to find that magic moment, and sometimes it's just pure luck. You just have to find that magic time when the clay is just at the right consistency to be trimmed. It's not too wet, it's not too dry, it's just right. And I got kind of lucky on this piece because the clay is just perfect for trimming. Okay, now that I've gone through and I've basically roughed in the foot, now I'm going to get picky and I'm going to kind of make it look nice. So I'm going to use the other side now, the flat side of this, and clean up those trim marks just by dragging it alongside smoothly. Okay, that looks a lot better. Then I'm going to use the corner to put kind of a sharper edge on the inside. And the bottom is not flat on the inside, which is no big deal to me because it's going to set on the foot anyway. But I'd still like to kind of even that out a little bit. Just going to even that out the best I can. Okay, inside looks pretty good. Scrape the foot just a little bit, just to really make it nice and clean. Then I go ahead and trim on this just a little bit and straighten it up like that. Use the flat side of the tool here, flatten that edge. And there's all different kinds of foots you can put on pots. I don't always make mine look like this. Sometimes they look differently. I'm going to use the bigger tool now so I can start at that point and round right there. Taking the flat piece of this, coming in, flatten that up again. Maybe use the loop tool to kind of smooth that. Okay, that's a pretty decent foot. And I'm going to use a sponge. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't do this. But I'm going to use a damp sponge and smooth that so if like there's any grog trails or any, I don't know, stray marks or whatever, you can kind of clean that up a little bit. You don't want to really put any pressure down because especially if your pot is still a little wet, you're adding more moisture to it, and so if you push, you could actually dent in your foot, and that shows on the other side. You certainly don't want that. Okay, the last thing I like to do is just stop it, look at it, because we all know that it looks differently sometimes when it's turning versus when it's stopped. There we go. That looks okay. I could do some things to make this bowl look a little more interesting. I could flute the sides. Simon Leach has an excellent video where he flutes a little bowl, and it's just awesome. He makes it look so easy. I know what I'll do. I have this little tool, which is fun to play with. It's a sewing tool. I don't really know what they use it for with sewing, but it makes kind of a neat dotted line on the pots. So I'm just going to get that going smoothly. Start right here. I'm just going to run it up quickly so it makes kind of a spiral at the side of the bowl. Okay? I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but I'll do a close-up here in a minute. Then I'm going to do it again so those lines overlap each other, and that makes kind of a that's kind of a cool pattern. If you glaze it lightly enough, it might show up a little bit. I'm going to move the camera down here so you can see an up-close view of this now. Okay, here's a close-up of what we've done. You can see this a little bit better. Here are the lines that we put in with that tool. We'll see if those show up after the glazing. Alright, so this bowl is good for a signature now, and it'll set on the shelf to dry. We'll put it in the kiln. Alright, well that's it for today. My dog, Riley, who sometimes likes to be in videos with me, isn't around right now. He must be outside to play, so it'll just be me signing off. If you want to, I'd love to hear your comments, so feel free to leave them. And we'll see you next time, YouTubers. Adios.